past year, I had a chance to have breakfast here with both presidents to talk a little bit about what we can do collectively. The two largest employers in north central Massachusetts who are linked in a whole number of ways with educational community at all levels, with the different leaders in local office, the 26 communities. They work closely as well with various businesses, and for many ways with the perfect entities to host and convene the conversation here today to talk about how we can, through limited strategic investment in public dollars, whether it be in education, transportation, how we can look to back and support and encourage dollars that can assist businesses that are looking to grow and expand, and then what we can do better to try to make the cost of doing business cheaper here. And Ray, part of his working group, at the end of the day, had some suggestions in that area as well. Obviously, a tough economic time for everybody, whether it be businesses large and small, college presidents, local officials, and families at their kitchen table. But through this type of ongoing collaboration, we really think we can help address the unemployment issue around the state and here in north central Massachusetts. But I also think, being myself from Worcester County and having had a chance now for 3 years to work in the greater Boston area, that there's an incredible value that exists. There's a competitive advantage that exists in north central Massachusetts. But we need to market that. We need to market in a way that is consistent with some of the infrastructure investments that we're making coming to completion, the prospect of trains, 20, 25 trains a day coming to Leominster and Fitchburg and some of the other communities from North Station literally within an hour. That opens up real opportunities for businesses to grow and expand here, and people who might be living and working in Boston, giving them opportunities to live here as well. So I'll turn it over to both the presidents and Greg, and then I think we'll take some questions.
Yeah, I just want to thank the Lieutenant Governor and his cabinet staff and his whole staff for working with us. It was a wonderful opportunity for both colleges to work cooperatively on an issue that's very, very important to us. There's a definite correlation between economic development and education, and I think today's programs clearly validated that principle. So I do want to thank you again, Governor, Lieutenant Governor, or Governor, wherever you want to be, for taking charge of this and moving it forward. We enjoyed working with you. Dan?
I also want to thank the Lieutenant Governor for the inspiration and bringing us together about a year ago to begin to plan this economic development. It was wonderful working with Lieutenant Governor and his staff and Secretary Galecki and his staff to bring this together. Even more wonderful was the fact that we have so many people from so many constituencies here in north central Massachusetts today around one common goal, and that's moving our communities together. The bottom line is we truly are better together. And if we stay together around these common goals and not try to become too many things to too many people, I think we certainly can advance the cause in the economic development of north central Massachusetts. So again, thank you very much.
And I would just pick up right from there. I mean, the most impressive thing I think about the session was we did have a real diversity of participants. We had state and local public officials. We had folks from the academic and education sector. We had folks from business. I don't think we spend 2 minutes arguing about differences between our perspectives or positions, or we spent 100% of the time in all the breakout sessions that I heard coming to agreement about what could be done together collectively. So clearly there's a great deal of collaborative spirit, and obviously we heard mention of many collaborative relationships going on already, but it was, in particular, we spent almost half of the summit in opportunity for breakout sessions for all the participants to come up with some very actionable items. And because there was such that sort of consistency of purpose, we did come out with a great list of items that are very actionable, which is important because we're trying to do things to make the economy better, but realistically, we're trying to focus on what would get more jobs in 2010. That is the goal. How do we get out of this, start our recovery as fast as possible? We really have a number of suggestions that we can put to work in the next several months and could make a difference in this year.
With that, we'll open it up. If there are any questions?
You mentioned some actionable items, and just, I was wondering if you could highlight one or two specific things that has come out of this.
Yeah, so the simplest thing really is, in a time, as was mentioned, of very scarce resources. And when you say, well, gee, if the item requires finding more money for something, that's going to be a challenge, no matter who you're trying to ask the money for. But one of the things that came out in each of the sessions is that, first of all, we can do a better job in communicating to businesses what resources are already available. That's something we can do that doesn't cost any money. We actually talked about using the regional chambers as a network, because that many businesses would first look to a chamber as an obvious place to get help and resources, and that's at no cost. We can do that. I'll tell you right now, we're going to do that over the next several months. That's an easy and obvious one. And secondly, we also talked about the places where we're doing things that are either duplicating efforts, or the things that we're trying to do in government are not directly addressing what are the current needs of businesses. So again, we don't have to find more resources to do that. We can just redirect our focus, and we can make sure that the people and the dollars that we are spending on economic development right now are going most directly at the places that the businesses are telling us will most likely lead to a new hiring.
And I'll just give you, again, no cost or low cost. I think I shared this with both presidents when we had breakfast to begin the conversation around this. Last year I visited Red Hat and IBM, two companies out in the Westford area, growing and expanding. And one of their main issues was kind of rail and housing opportunities, and even expansion beyond that. And here we are in north central Massachusetts, just a few miles away, where great housing stock, very affordable, good quality school systems. So it's letting people know that their options aren't just east, but it's also letting them know that their options are to the west, and that there are infrastructure investments that are underway in road, rail in particular, and in broadband, which I think will increase the competitiveness and attractiveness of businesses and people living and working in north central Massachusetts.
Did you hear any suggestions that surprised you that you really weren't anticipating from the people?
No, I don't think so. I mean, in terms of the general categories, we heard about transportation issues and the importance of and improvements on the Fitchburg line, and other regional infrastructure issues, which we understood. Cost of energy, again, not surprising. The critical importance of manufacturing, plastics and other kinds of manufacturing as being so critical to this region, which we knew already, but just really sort of more precise elements. I think the one thing that was mentioned that wasn't surprising, but is an important reminder to us, this administration has spent a lot of time, and we've made an investment in improving broadband connectivity. And we have, for obvious reasons, sort of particularly as we tell that story, talking about the communities in Massachusetts that don't have any broadband service at all. But one of the things we did here today is that it's good to have some broadband service, but in terms of the kind of businesses that you can keep and attract, you not only have to have some broadband service, you have to make sure that you have the kind of connectivity that our businesses need. And so that we talked about, for example, that we'll use some of the federal money we recently received to do a broadband mapping exercise to get a closer look at this region, not only who has service and not, but what kind of speed and depth of service do they have, and is it in fact enough to meet the needs of businesses? And if not, then we'll need to make some of our investment in upgrades in this region as well.
One of the things that surprised me was hearing that manufacturing is actually doing well. I guess working out in this area, you kind of get the sense, you keep seeing old factories closing, things like that.
Yeah. So that's.
I just say in terms of doing well. I mean, I think the good news is we've seen the last several months jobs being added. There was a period of time over the last year where they have lost jobs, and I think Greg might know the specific number, but clearly manufacturing at approximately 260,000 jobs across the state is probably the third or fourth largest employee sector in the state. And I think the data that we got from both presentations, in particular in a very micro way, to North Central from Robert, is that it's still a major employer. 1 out of every 4 employees here, and the average salary is significantly higher. So it is important, as Greg emphasized later in the morning, that we do everything we can to support advanced manufacturing, and that goes exactly to the mission that both of these two men push every day at their institutions. It's working with the vocational technical schools. It's letting people know that this is not a dead-end industry. The fact of the matter is, we worked, this administration, with Barry Bluestone a couple of years ago to give us the state of the state, if you will, in manufacturing in Massachusetts. And over the next 10 years, we're going to lose 100,000 people will be retiring from this. So there's a huge opportunity for young people if we get them trained in the right way, computer-assisted design, and understanding of the new technology. There are great career opportunities that afford them a much higher pay scale than some service or entry-level service sector jobs. So that's where we need to work with our employment centers and with our schools. And there were representatives from Fitchburg State here today who were part of that technology training program. Teacher Jim.
Oh, Jim Andrews?
Jim Alicata.
Oh,
Yeah.
my,
Yeah. So
information, where is he?
he was here.
He was
We were
here.
chatting earlier. So that's one of the things that, some people have this perception it's not what it used to be. We're going to only compete in advanced manufacturing, but we also got to make sure we're training people for that sector.
You mentioned some low-cost or no-cost strategies. Are you considering any tax breaks, tax incentives to grow businesses in this area or statewide?
Well, again, we're, because of the fiscal situation, we're focusing on redeploying our existing resources. So it's a good example that you just mentioned. So in the area of tax incentives, one of our main state investment tax credit programs, we actually worked with legislature to reform that back in November to do a couple of things. First of all, the amount of tax credit that a company could get was sort of based on a formula that we thought was kind of outdated. So we rewrote that to make the connection. So now that you'll get the most investment tax credit from the state if you're creating the most jobs. So to really focus and improve that as a job creation tool. It's one thing we did. The other thing we did is because we recognize that in many cases, in order to offset what are inevitably going to be some of the higher costs of doing business in Massachusetts as opposed to other states or other countries in manufacturing, that we probably have to provide a greater level of incentive to manufacturers in order to help make this a competitive place. So we actually created a separate category for manufacturing, and we increased the limit. So now a manufacturer can get a higher investment tax credit under that program than other companies, in recognition of the fact that that's realistically probably what's going to take to compete in Massachusetts.
And that program is known as the EDIP program, Economic Development Incentive Program.
So we're going to spend the same amount of money this year as we did last year, but we think it's going to be much more effective.
Good.
Thank you.
Have a good day,
I
everybody.
want to thank again the staffs in the working group helping put this together, and great staff, particularly those that helped today, Sophie, and my one staff member who made this her major project since she's been with my team the last 6 or 9 months. How many months now, Lauren? 7 months? Lauren Jones, so thank you.